Today we're going to be adding a faux wood grain finish to the top of this 3-drawer chest. The body of this chest is finished in a blended coat of Dixie Belle collard greens, hurricane gray, and driftwood. The materials I'm going to be using for this project are my Dixie Belle mini brush, my Dixie Belle glaze, which is a black glaze tinted with coffee bean paint to darken it, my Dixie Belle wood graining tool, and a mister bottle. The top of this chest is finished in a streaky coat of Dixie Belle Hurricane Gray and Driftwood. I just brushed them together randomly using my Dixie Belle Mini. I also coated it in a clear coat of Dixie Belle Satin Clear, and that's going to ultimately help my wood graining tool glide easier over my surface. Trying to glide the wood graining tool over raw paint can cause friction. Right now I'm brushing on a light coat of my Dixie Belle glaze. This is black glaze tinted with coffee bean paint. I'm just using my Dixie Belle Mini to try to get a nice thin even coat, adding water as needed. I'm also adding water to keep my glaze from setting up too quickly. I don't want it to dry because I do need to run my wood graining tool through it, so I'm just giving it a spritz of water, which keeps the glaze active and workable. This coat does not need to be even because just like the coat underneath it, this is laying a base for a wood grain finish, and wood grain is known for having an uneven look to it, so I don't need to have perfectly even coverage with my paint underneath or my glaze. Actually, the unevenness in the colors can cause nice contrast in my final finished wood grain look. I also made sure to brush around the edges of my chest just so they had a consistent finish with the top. Now that I've got a fairly even finish with my glaze, I'm going to take my Dixie Belle wood graining tool. I'm using the wider head that comes with the tool, and then I'm going to place a little bit of pressure just at the top of the handle, and rocking my tool as I glide, I'm going to pull it along the direction of the wood grain of my piece. You can see as I rock it, it creates knots and lines and authentic looking wood grain in my glaze. Now for my next run, I'm going to overlap my first one just slightly. I'm going to start at the opposite end of my chest and pull in the opposite direction. This makes my wood grain run in 2 different directions and gives me an authentic planked look. From here on out, I'm going to continue alternating which side of my chest I start my run on. I'm going to apply the same pressure to the top of my tool and rock and pull as I go. It may take you a few practice runs, but the nice thing about this look is if you're not happy with your run, you can just rebrush your glaze on and go right back over it again. How much or how little you rock your tool as you're going will determine how much variation you get in your wood grain texture. More long, even pulls will give you the linear effect, and more rocking will actually give you more knots in your wood grain. I'm going to continue alternating sides, pulling my tool back, rocking it slightly with just a little bit of pressure on the head of the tool until I get to the very last run on my chest. I overlap each run just slightly with the one before it, and this helps me prevent any open spaces in my wood grain. Once my entire piece is covered with wood grain, I can look at it and decide if there's any areas that I'm unhappy with, and I'm just going to go back over those areas to patch in a little bit of wood grain where it might be missing. This look is very forgiving. It's a weathered wood grain look, so it's not expected to be perfect. I really like the contrast of the 2 Dixie Belle grays under the warm browns of the glaze. It just gives this an authentic weathered wood finish. I did also choose to add a few stamps using the Iron Orchid Designs wood plank stamp just to give it a few knots and a little bit of planking in my wood finish. A few coats of Dixie Belle clear coat and this top was complete. As always, if you enjoyed this video, please find more Brushed by Brandy on Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, and YouTube. I hope you'll click the subscribe and follow button. There's a link in this post to all of the products that I used on today's video.